We travel across the US to find the most unique bistros. Bistro du Midi.
Bouillabaisse at Bistro du Midi is just this chock-full fisherman's stew.
Landmarc.
If you want something light and simple, you can order the profiteroles. To me, this is a one-biter.
Church and State.
Pig ears are fantastic.
You get that yummy pork fat coating on your tongue.
La Fourchette.
Cassoulet is an iconic French dish. It's just so soul-warming and comforting, perfect on a wintry day.
These are unique eats.
One of my favorite bistros to visit in New York is Landmarc Bistro in Tribeca.
Landmarc is a modern bistro that serves the neighborhood incredible standards and some classic favorites.
The word bistro comes from the Russians when they moved to Paris and would say bistro, bistro, which meant quick, quick. It's about getting good food quickly, and it's just a place that you can go to every day.
When I opened Landmarc down in Tribeca, I wanted to just open a normal, sort of casual bistro, a place where people could feel comfortable coming to eat maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Sort of a place for everybody at all times.
Marc Murphy was born in Milan, but because his father was a diplomat, he was raised in both Italy and France before moving to the US.
So I guess my palate sort of lives in those 2 countries, and that's exactly where this restaurant sort of lies.
The menu at Landmarc is incredibly approachable, and it has a wide variety of things. There's something for everybody. There's an entire section dedicated to just mussels. There's a pasta of the day.
At any bistro, anywhere around the world, you can always get steak frites. But what's unique about Landmarc is there's this little grill tucked in by the bar, and you can smell your steak cooking.
If you're in the mood for a hanger steak, you can get that. They have strip steak, skirt steak, filet mignon, ribeye, and then the sauces pretty much run the gamut of the classic sausage, like the sauce au poivre, and then of course the classic béarnaise.
And it's sort of nice because people get to really enjoy their steak the way they want to.
If you want something light and simple, you can order the profiteroles.
Profiteroles are one of those dishes that most of the time are done as a dessert. And I think I was traveling with my wife in Luxembourg, and there was a savory profiterole, and it sort of got me thinking, and I thought, well, wow, we could do this as an appetizer. It'd be a great sort of accompaniment with a salad.
He blends a combination of goat cheese with a little bit of garlic and thyme, and he pipes this mixture into the profiteroles.
He puts them back in the oven to kind of warm and melt the cheese, and he serves 3 of them on a plate with a beautiful salad of frisée, some red peppers, and a sherry shallot vinaigrette.
One trick when you're eating this dish is to make sure that the second they hit your table, to get them into your mouth.
I mean, to me, this is a one-biter. The goat cheese kind of pops, the pastry crunches down and melts, and you're grabbing another one right away. They're so good.
Other items on the menu are dishes that Marc simply loves to eat. They remind him of his childhood in Europe.
Steak tartare is just one of those dishes that's close to my heart. I used to eat it all the time with my grandfather. I think it's something that everybody should probably at least try once. It's delicious.
What's so unique about the steak tartare at Landmarc is how it's made. He takes beef tenderloin, freezes it, and then he pulses it in a food processor, so it still has texture.
Then he adds the wonderful ingredients that make steak tartare so irresistible. Chopped red onions, whole capers, hot sauce for that extra kick, Dijon mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and of course, an egg yolk.
It's this flavor that's so unique. You take a mouthful of steak tartare, you know you're eating steak tartare.
I like to take a fork of the tartare, place it on the piece of bread, and just take a bite at a time. After a couple of bites, I dig into the salad. And I have to say, it's also great if you eat it with frites.
He has an unbelievable pasta. It's fresh cavatelli with sautéed chicken livers. cavatelli has all these little ridges on it, so it's absorbing the sauce and the flavor from the liver, the onions, the bacon.
It was earthy, delicious, satisfying.
And it feels really elegant, but sort of peasant-like at the same time.
It is delicious. It's probably one of the best ways to eat chicken livers, and I love chicken livers.
You said 2 apple crumble, 1 tiramisu? Yes.
One of the best things you can get at Landmarc is the dessert sampler, and it comes out and you have little tiny tasting portions of all their desserts.
You have bistro favorites like chocolate mousse, an eclair filled with chocolate hazelnut, and of course you have creme brulee.
Some people say we make the best creme brulee. I say we make the right size creme brulee.
The perfect finish to a perfect meal.
What's great about Landmarc is they always make you feel like you are a friend or a family or a neighbor, even if they've never seen you before. And to me, that's the kind of place I want to go back to over and over again.
When the week is tough and the days are long, it's really just the place that you can go and feel at home.
One of the dishes at Church and State are these crispy pig's ears.
You ask for an ear, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
For a unique taste of southern France, step into Bistro du Midi.
Classic bouillabaisse, Boston style.
Church and State is this really beautiful bistro in the downtown area of Los Angeles.
Yasmin Sarmati is the owner of Church and State.
I think the food scene in Los Angeles, is probably in a lot of places in the U.S., is getting more and more casual. One of the reasons I decided to do a French bistro was because I really had a hard time finding great casual French food in L.A.
Church and State is a perfect example of how you can turn the idea of the high cuisine in France and the bistro concept and make it popular. It's a bistro for the people. And the truth is that the food is fantastic.
One of the menu items is escargot. And escargot usually comes out of the kitchen in a little ceramic plate bubbling. But at Church and State, they take it an extra step further. Each little escargot, which by the way is a snail, gets put in a tiny little cup, topped with butter, parsley, and garlic. And then there's a little round of puff pastry that goes on top.
You break open the puff pastry and you see there's a little escargot inside, floating in this delicious butter. And you can grab some puff pastry and make almost like an escargot taco.
The pastry absorbed the butter and the flavors and the consistency and the snail. Poor snail.
The tarte flambé at Church and State is this paper-thin flatbread, almost cracker-like, topped with the most savory ingredients, these slow-cooked onions. They're almost sweet like sugar and candy, with Gruyere, Emmentaler, and of course, bacon lardons.
When the tarte flambé is cooking in the oven, the cheese bubbles up and blends in with those caramelized onions.
It's just one of those things that's such a simple yet wonderful pleasure when you put it in your mouth.
One of the dishes at Church and State are these crispy pig's ears. Now, it took a bit of convincing with my dining companions to try these.
Pig ears are fantastic. When you go to Church and State, you ask for an ear, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
To make the batter unique, the chef uses tempura flour, which is light and creates a crispy product and mixes it with carbonated water.
He dips the ear in the batter and then rolls it in finely ground panko breadcrumbs. Then when it's deep fried, that panko and the batter kind of become one thing, and you end up with this crispy mahogany shell.
They were really crunchy on the outside, but on the inside it was melt in your mouth goodness.
And they really do melt in your mouth. You would have no idea you're eating a pig ear, but you kind of get that yummy pork fat coating on your tongue.
We need to eat more pig's ears in this country.
There's definitely a certain refinement to our food here at Church and State. We're still using items that you would see in a French bistro, not in a fine dining French restaurant. We have very traditional French bistro food.
It's often hard to find a really great sort of bistro environment with that type of cuisine. And here it is in downtown LA, and you know, it's just done to perfection.
The dish you must order at La Fourchette is the haché parmentier. It's like a shepherd's pie with a twist. La Fourchette is this little French bistro, this cozy little room in the middle of Charleston, South Carolina.
Eric Goulet is the owner and chef.
First time I visit Charleston, it kind of reminds me a little bit where I'm coming from in Brittany, the beauty of the city and the coast. I felt like a perfect place to make a little bistro.
What La Fourchette does especially well is it concentrates on these one-pot meals, these classic home-style dishes of the sort that Paris grew up with and remembers really fondly.
Definitely is my favorite food.
Cassoulet is an iconic French dish, and it's usually served in the countryside. And it's a bean dish, basically.
And everyone has a different way of making it. Paris Goulet makes cassoulet a different way. The base is beans and lamb.
But the star of cassoulet is a duck leg confit.
Duck confit, just duck leg that's been preserved. You can buy duck confit, but Paris makes his own.
He massages the duck legs with the salt and pepper and sugar.
After 24 hours, he then slowly cooks the duck in a deep bath of duck fat. This extremely slow and low cooking process tenderizes the meat.
And then Paris takes that beautiful confit duck leg and he sears it. So to plate it up, he begins by putting this lamb and bean stew down in the bottom of a nice heavy serving dish. And then on top of that goes the crisp duck leg confit, along with some great slices of garlicky sausage. And then it goes back in the oven just to sort of finish off, crisp up and unify the flavors. It's just so soul-warming and comforting. It's perfect on a wintry day. We don't get many wintry days in Charleston, but when you do, it's where you want to go.
Haché parmentier is Paris' version of something his mother used to make. He described it to me as like a shepherd's pie with a twist.
Paris' mom would cook all week long for a big family, and she would save little bits of chicken, beef, and pork, and then incorporate them all into this stew at the end of the week.
And that was one of my favorite food. So it's an homage to my mom.
Paris' version has, we're in the South, of course, pulled pork on the bottom layer.
For his mashed potatoes, he doesn't just get out the masher like the rest of us. He rices them. He puts them through a strainer, and then he adds butter, heavy cream, and puts that on top.